What's up guys, it's All Day Anthony and welcome back to the Civic vlog that you hopefully know and hopefully love, because in today's video we're installing the hybrid racing B and D series short shifter on my Honda Civic. Let's go.
Hop in the car, watch it go vroom, vroom. I told her mom that I was soon. Know as a child back in the womb. Oh, told her step back, I need my broom. Hop in the car, watch it go vroom.
There we go. Alright guys, and welcome back to a long-awaited Honda Civic vlog, where in today's video we are shifting into a new year with a new shifter. Now I do want to apologize about the gap in content. As much as I don't want to be every month Anthony, the holidays just got absolutely crazy for me this year and I really didn't even have a day to myself. But I did give the Civic a wash yesterday, technically its last wash of 2022, and unfortunately my clear coat on the hood said peace out for 2023. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do about that, whether it's repainting the hood or possibly going carbon fiber. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. What do you guys think I should do for 2023? Now, as far as today's video goes, we're gonna be doing a couple different things. My shift shaft seal, say that 10 times fast, is seeping on the Honda Civic and has been seeping for many, many years. So what I wanna do today is go through and do a manual transmission fluid change, but in order to do the shift shaft seal, we have to empty out all of the old manual transmission fluid, get under there, pop out the pin, and then pop out the old seal, pop in the new seal, and then we'll be able to refill that up. Now, after I knock that out, that's where we're gonna jump to the good stuff, which is gonna be this guy right over here, the Hybrid Racing B and D series short shifter. I've had this thing for quite some time and I really wanna give it a shot. Now, as some of you may know, I've been running the K-tuned B and D series short shifter for a few years now with no complaints. I really don't have a reason to switch over to the Hybrid Racing shifter other than to offer a comparison between the two and maybe help people out with their purchases in the future. If there is no best between the two, then maybe find out the pros and cons of each and kind of go from there. But I thought it'd be fun to switch up my shifter setup anyways, and this thing looks like extremely high quality. Without further ado, what we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into the car. I'm gonna give you my quick and simple thoughts on the K-tune shifter, just kind of show you some shifts, and then from there, we're gonna get the car up into the air, and then we're gonna start draining some fluid. So let's jump into it. Alright, so to save time, I've already removed the armrest and the shifter center console. It's pretty easy to do, just a couple screws on each side of the armrest and of the center console itself. If you can't figure out how to do that, then I probably wouldn't recommend going forward with anything else. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into the car here. These seats are still absolutely amazing, but here is a look at the K-tune shifter. So the K-tune shifter has multiple different adjustments. You can raise or lower the shift knob by adjusting the shift rod right here with a couple different set screws. Then you can also change the throw of the shifter by adjusting this at the base right here. It has one set screw, and then you'll simply twist that to, I guess, shorten it or lengthen the throw depending on what you like. So this is all a preference thing. I kind of like it at this setting right here as far as height goes. And my throws are not super short, but they're not super long. They're kind of right in the middle. So giving you guys a quick example here. There's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, then all the way over for reverse. So I timed myself and I got this thing up in the air in less than 5 minutes, and we are ready to drain the manual transmission fluid. Now, something totally unrelated but maybe helpful, as many people know, it's pretty freaking cold outside. It's like 30 degrees where I live, and I'm sure it's colder elsewhere, so I've been looking for a cheap way to heat my garage, and I stumbled across this. This is called the Mr. Heater 540. It's a tank top heater that puts out a whopping 30,000 to 45,000 BTU, which puts my old 15,000 BTU tank top heater to shame. This thing has been absolutely amazing. It gets my garage up to 60 degrees and higher, depending on how long I run it for. I usually only run it for like 10 to 20 minutes and then shut it off and then put on my electric heater. But yeah, just thought it would be helpful for people that are freezing their asses off in their garage or shop like I am. I got on Amazon for under $100, and I will put the link down in the description if if you want to pick one up for yourself. Not a sponsor thing, just like a helpful Anthony thing, like, hey, it's freaking cold, this thing's amazing, check it out. All right, for this video, we're trying something different. Normally, I have you guys on my head cam when I'm under the car, but it always falls off my head and it's a pain in the ass. So instead of that, I have you guys on the mouth cam. So you guys are gonna be in my mouth, which sounds kind of weird, but we're just gonna roll with it. So under the car here, I have my mat and I have my bucket to catch the oil. And then in my hand here, I have my 3/8 inch ratchet and a 17 millimeter for the fill plug. So we're gonna undo the fill plug first, create a vacuum that way, and then undo the drain it all out, and we should be good to go. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes and all the transmission fluid has drained, mostly into the mat and not into the bucket because that's how it goes. But I have a brand new washer sitting here on the drain plug and we're gonna be sliding that in. So hop down here, slide under, find that hole, stick it in, give it a nice twist, and then I'll tighten that here in just a little bit. But now from here, we're gonna be moving to the shift linkage. Now, as you can see, I've had a pretty bad leak for quite some time. Most of it is coming from that boot and just kind of settling right around here. So hopefully this will all be resolved once we get the new shift shaft seal in there. So let's get it done. All right, so we're gonna be knocking out the shift shaft first and then moving on to the stabilizer bar after this. And so we have the K-tuned hardware on there, which utilizes some pretty weird stuff. So I have a 13 millimeter under the car, then I have, I think, a 7/32 Allen on here. So I'm gonna put you guys in my mouth. Hopefully you guys can see some of the process, but let's go in. All right, so now we're moving on to the shift shaft. So what I've done here is I've put on some gloves because this gets pretty messy, and I've pulled back the boot towards the transmission. So you're just gonna slide it over that clip. Be careful not to tear the boot and slide it over. Now you'll see the clip, I've rotated it around to make it easy to remove. So I've rotated it down towards me. So we're gonna take some needle nose pliers, get underneath that clip and then pry it off. And then from there, I'm taking a kind of a Allen attachment, if you will. Let me see if I can, when you're reaching under a car to try to find it. Taking this guy right here, and then this is going to go right where that pin is, right there, if you can kind of see that. And then I'm gonna be hammering that pin out of there. And then from there, that should be able to pull this back and we should be able to drop all of this and then move on to the stabilizer bar. So again, this is pretty messy, as you can see. And yeah, so let's just jump into it. All right, so it's time to clean up this mess. I already knocked out underneath the transmission there, cleaned it up the best I could. So this right here is super gritty, so I'm gonna spray it down with some all-purpose cleaner. And I just have a bucket of rinseless wash here to rinse it all down. Then I'm gonna take my nylon brush here, just start getting rid of all that gunk. That is nasty. All right, so it's not perfect by any means, but it's definitely a hell of a lot cleaner. So I'm probably gonna call it good there, and then we're gonna move on to the other bar, which this one was just kind of lightly dusty. So I soaked it with a little bit of quick detailer, grab another towel, and clean it off. Now I did want to update people as far as these bushings go. I got these off of Amazon. I can't remember exactly what brand they were, but they're holding up fantastic. They look great, you know, a little faded on the red, but other than that though, I mean, the car still feels amazing. All the shifts feel amazing, and I don't have any complaints there. So if I find out which ones they were, I will link them down below because they've been on here for a couple of years now and don't have any signs of wear. So I'm pretty pumped on those. So anyways, this is about as clean as it's gonna get for something that you're never gonna see on the underside of the car. And I'm gonna call it good there. And so from here, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the shift shaft seal, and I'm gonna show you guys how to remove that with a cool little tool. That way you don't have to mess anything up using a flathead screwdriver. All right, so I've had this little tool for a while, but I've never had a chance to use it. It is a dedicated seal remover for a shaft style seal. It's got a little hook here that gets behind the seal, and then you're gonna use this little metal bar here as leverage on, let's just say, the transmission, and then help start prying it out. So I'll show you how it works underneath the car, and we're gonna start working it from one side, then flip this if we need to onto the other side, and work it from the other side. It's coming. All right, so we've actually got it lifted on one side, so we're gonna flip this over to the other side and start working it from that way. There we go. Done. And there is our shift shaft seal. All right, so just open up the shift shaft seal, and this is the part number if anybody is interested. So it looks like this right here, just like the one we removed. So for this, to be able to hammer this back in, you want to find a socket that's going to fit. I feel like the 19mm is a perfect fit for this. So it slides right in over the top and fits right within that little divot there. So we'll be using that. I'm gonna take just a little bit of oil and go around the outside of that just as lubrication to hammer it in. And you're gonna go all the way up to that ridge right there, right past that second ridge, I should say. So right on that lip, you're gonna go right up to there, make sure it's nice and even, and that's it, and you're done. All right guys, so here's a look at the finished shift shaft seal. So I went ahead and used a deep socket to drive it in to get over the shaft itself, and then continue driving it in until I reached that lip that you can kind of see right there. And that's as far as you can go. So once you get to that lip, call it good. Don't keep hammering, you'll probably just break something. And from here, we can go ahead and fill the transmission back up with fluid, and then we'll jump to the hybrid racing short shifter. So we are almost there. All right, so at this point, we can go ahead and fill up the manual transmission fluid. So I got the hood popped here, and I have my filler contraption. This is literally just a funnel with some piping on it that I have duct taped on there. And it works for me, and it has worked for me over the years. So what I like to do is I like to guide this down through here, past the intake, and I can actually see the filler hole down there. I go ahead and guide this tube into that point, and then I'm gonna get underneath the car and then kind of tuck it in there. And then from there, we're gonna take our manual transmission fluid and then fill up, I don't know, I think it's around 2 quarts. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to buy 3, but in the past, I remember it being like right around 2. Basically, fill it up to the point to where it's dripping out of it, and then grab your plug, put it in, tighten it down, and call it good. So let's go ahead and guide that in there and then start filling things up. All right, so it looks like we do have some runoff, which is not a bad thing. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the hose out of here. Let's see if it starts dribbling out. All right, so at this point it stopped dribbling, so I'm gonna go ahead and put in the plug if I don't drop it. There we go. And done. All right, so I got everything disassembled and I put everything back together on the K-Tune shifter so I don't lose any of the pieces. So now we can officially start fresh with the hybrid racing shifter. So opening it up, this is what you're gonna get. Get styrofoam, awesome. And then you're gonna get the full shifter assembly here, which, I mean, when you first grab this thing and you think to yourself, how does this cost $300? you got to grab it. You know, sometimes you just got to grab life by the shaft to really know the quality of it. And I will say that this thing does feel exceptionally high quality. It's much more heavyweight than the K-Tune shifter. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know yet, but I will say that it looks awesome and the fit and finish is great. And then you have your shift knob rod here, which is going to be adjustable as well. Looks awesome, it's matching. And then you have your hardware here. Now here's the interesting thing. Once I started pulling everything apart there, I realized that you do not use the bottom shift plate here that you would use on the K-Tune shifter. The K-Tune shifter came with an additional plate, a 3 drilled plate that you would use for other B-Series cars, whereas the D-Series only utilizes 2. This was my stock plate that I took off and then put back on here, and I made that work. So for this, it looks like the assembly is completely different. It actually goes in from the top rather from the bottom, and I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. So we're gonna undo the hardware. And this guy is actually going to mount to the top of this. So what I mean by that, it's going to slide in over the top, and then you are going to put it, line up the holes there, and then do the 2 holes right from the top. All right, so I got everything cranked down and it feels pretty damn good. Now the question is, will this boot fit over the top of this and slide down to create that seal? That, maybe if you stretch it. It does not show this in the instructions, by the way. I'm kind of assuming that this is how it would go if it were to go this way. So, I don't know. All right, and here she is, my taped up shaft. What do you guys think? I think that's a nice little addition to it. Makes it look pretty good. Now, in all seriousness, I just taped it up so I don't scuff it up going past the exhaust, but I'm excited to see how this thing fits. I'm really praying that that boot fits over the top because I can't imagine there just being a gaping hole. So let's go ahead and throw it in my mouth and see what happens. And here we go. The shifter is poked through and the seal does fit as I had hoped. I honestly can't imagine you running the shifter without a seal because you can look directly down through the ground. So yeah, if you're installing the hybrid racing shifter, make sure to put the seal on here. It does look a little sad, doesn't it, in comparison to the K-tuned one? It's kind of like flopped over, but hey, it is what it is and it fits. So at this point in time, the next step is getting the shift shaft installed, and gosh, I think we'll finally be done. It's been a long day. All right, so everything is sewn up on the underside of the Civic, and I will say that that shaft pin was a huge pain in my ass. I never want to do that again. There was barely any room. I couldn't line up the damn hole. It took me freaking forever, but I finally got it in, got the C-clip on there, got the boot on there, and we were ready to continue. Everything's tightened up on the shifter assembly on the underside, and yeah, I think all that's left to do is to get the Civic back down on the ground and assemble the rest of the shifter, and we'll be done, man. I'm excited. All right, so we got the car back down on the ground and we're ready to test this shifter out. So I have the top piece of the hybrid racing shifter right here. Now this can be oriented however you like, whatever's most comfortable for you. So I see some people have it straight back like that. Some people have it at an angle, whatever floats your boat. I'm gonna try it in the straight back position. This will probably take me, you know, a couple weeks to fiddle with to see what position I like most, but this is just a good starting point to test it out. So, ooh, geez. That is short, guys. That is short, notchy, Feels really good, I'm not gonna lie. However, it just doesn't feel the same without a shift knob, so I think I know something we can do to fix that. All right, so this was supposed to be for the Acura RSX, but I thought, why the hell not? Special occasion. We'll give it a try, see how it feels, right? So this is the 130R Performance Shift Knob from Hybrid Racing. It's in this really cool white color. Pull this thing out. Now, this isn't as weighted as a knob that I'm normally used to, but let's give it a shot. Let's see how it feels. It feels good in the hand, but let's roll this thing on. Oh, this is gonna be a tall boy the way this is sitting right now. Holy smokes. Oh my gosh, it's gonna take forever too. Come on. Any day now. What the hell? Oh, nice, it lines up perfectly right there. So, ooh. Oh man. That feels pretty good, guys, I'm not gonna lie. Not at this height, I gotta go lower than this, but I will say that the knob itself, that actually feels pretty incredible. Very notchy. I would argue to say slightly more notchy than the K-Tune shifter. All right, so let's go ahead and adjust the throw on this. So we're gonna loosen these up. Bottom, top, and bottom. And this, it literally raises. Okay, that's it. I mean, I might grab them from the bottom. So, longer. Shorter. So I think I'm gonna go probably right in the middle there. I think the middle looks good. What do you guys think? Tighten that up right there. That actually feels more like the setting I had on the K-Tune. So we need to drop this down on the shifter itself, on the shift knob. So dropping the knob down. Let's say about, what do you think about right there? I like the shift knob height. Not hitting anything. I lied. I want -2. Yeah. That's it. -2. Dude, that feels amazing. Holy smokes, that feels freaking good. Dude, that's a great feeling shifter. All right, guys, I'm not gonna lie. This thing's pretty freaking solid. As far as first impressions go, the build quality of this thing is amazing. I love the adjustability of this shifter in comparison to the K-Tune shifter. I think it's just much more accessible, if that makes sense. And in terms of the weight and feel of it, I would say it still has that same notchy feel that I loved about the K-Tune shifter. The only difference is that this feels maybe more robust, maybe more solid. The K-Tune shifter felt a little bit more nimble, a little bit more light, but kind of had a hollow feel to it. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but this, when you clink into a gear, I mean, it just whacks into a gear and you just, I don't know, it just feels so good. The K-Tune shifter had a very similar feel to that, but again, there was like this weird maybe sense of hollowness to it. I don't know how to describe it, but in terms of a side-by-side, I still don't know 100% yet. I need to get this thing out on the road tomorrow and take it for a test drive. As far as what I'm gonna do tonight, I'm gonna get the plastics back in here, and then I will see you guys tomorrow morning. We're gonna go for a quick little rip, give you my final impressions of the K-Tune versus the Hybrid Racing shifter, and we'll end this thing. So anyways, see you guys tomorrow morning.
A few moments later.
And good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful day. The sun is shining. I haven't seen the sun for like 2 weeks, and it always puts me in a good mood. So taking a look at the inside of the car, I got all the plastics back in last night, and this thing looks absolutely beautiful. Just in this short drive over here, I could feel a pretty significant difference between the two shifters, but I will throw on the GoPro to give you guys my thoughts further. So let's go ahead and jump in the car and go for a drive. All right, so we are on the road. We are first in line here. This shifter has a very good affirmative clunk into gear, and we're gonna give it its first rip right here. What do you guys think? First gear? Yeah, let's do it. Oh yeah, dude. There we go. Little bit of shifter vibration. VTEC. Woo! Gosh, it's not gonna make your car any faster, but I will tell you, it'll make you feel like you're going faster. That felt really, really good. Now I could hear a little bit of vibration once I was getting into the upper RPMs. So about right when I hit VTEC, actually, I could feel some type of vibration happening. It sounded like it was coming from the knob itself, but I doubt it. I think it's just resonating from the shifter up into the knob. But that felt pretty dang good. So I won't go balls to the wall here, but we'll just go ahead and do some normal driving here, see how it feels. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, new transmission fluid in here. I've never had any issues with grinds or misshifts or anything like that. I really think that for the most part, the D16 trannies are pretty damn bulletproof. But God, dude, just get into first there. That feels nice. All right, normal driving. Second, here we go. Third, feels pretty good. I mean, for reference, the K-Tune shifter, I mean, it felt really good as well. Don't get me wrong here, but this feels definitely more solid, more robust, like I was mentioning last night. I don't know, it's something different. I think it could be partially due to the shift knob itself, because I really am liking this shift knob. I'm finding that it's a little bit too smooth, that I could see myself potentially like my hand sliding off of it, but I like the way it feels just holding on to it. Again, I'm more of a ball guy, not a shaft guy, but yeah, I really like this knob, so I'll probably do something probably pretty similar for the RSX. Well, technically I stole this from the RSX, so maybe this will go back on the RSX and I'll do a different shift knob here in the Civic from hybrid racing. But yeah, so far so good. Back down into fourth, feels good. Up to third, half throttle there, into fourth. I'm not getting any weird vibrations in the lower revs. Again, just that high rev, I was getting some vibrations, but to be fair, I had the same vibrations with the K-Tune shifter at first, actually probably around mid-rev range all the way to the upper rev range, and those actually kind of worked themselves out. It stopped rattling after, I don't know, about a month or so, and I didn't have any more issues. So I don't know if it's things just kind of getting worked in or what it is, but yeah, that resolved itself, so maybe this will do the same on those upper revs. How we looking? We look pretty good, maybe. What do you guys think? Yeah. Yeah, second gear, VTEC. Definitely getting some rattles there. Quick check of reverse. Over. Down. Back to first. Yeah, more vibrations. All right, so here are my final thoughts on the K-Tuned versus hybrid racing B and D series shifter. To be honest with you, they are both amazing shifters. I don't think that you can go wrong with either one. I kind of had a feeling this would be the outcome, and I knew I had to probably make some pros and cons of each, but yeah, they're both amazing. They're both loads better than the stock shifter setup if you're looking for more of that race car notchy feel. But yeah, so let's go ahead and break down the pros and cons to hopefully help you with your decision on which brand you want. Don't let that sun fool you, it is freaking freezing out. So jumping into this, the K-Tune shifter I had on here previously, I would say some of the pros and cons. The pros being that I think it's much more eye-catching. I think that the K-Tune shifter drew a lot more attention. So whenever I would open up the doors, everybody's eyes were always drawn to that shifter. So if you're looking to maybe make your interior louder or more eye-catching, I would say that the K-Tune shifter takes the cake. I also think that the K-Tune shifter has a better fitment going into the cabin. Now, I know that little boot thing down there is a very small thing to nitpick about, but on the K-Tune shifter, it fit perfectly. It looked very OEM. You couldn't tell that there was anything aftermarket coming out of the underside of the car. And again, something small to nitpick about, but that's something that's probably going to bother me from here on out. So now, as far as the cons of that shifter, I would say that there's a few big ones. First and foremost, I had to Dremel off one of the counterweights on the stabilizer bar on the shift linkage. And so there was no other way around it because of the shape of the bottom of that shifter. Instead of being a circle, or instead of being circled off, it was more of like a square. So it hit right there at the end. So I had to Dremel that off. Not a huge deal if you're willing to do that, but I could see how that could be a break it point for some people. So that was probably one big negative. And then I think that the other biggest negative is the adjustment settings on that thing. You need 3 freaking Allen keys, basically one of those Swiss Army knife, hex key things, in order to make adjustments to that shifter, because it utilizes 3 different sizes. Super annoying. And then lastly, I would say, now that I have the comparison of the hybrid racing shifter, I would say that the K-Tune shifter did have more of a hollow feel to it, kind of like a tingy hollowness, to where it wasn't as robust as this. So now I have something to compare it to, but I think for the most part you wouldn't notice it, unless you were like really, really picky. But again, still, the K-Tune shifter is a huge step up above the OEM shifter if you're looking for more notchiness. And yeah, so K-Tuned, it's a great shifter. I don't think you can go wrong with it. If you have it, I wouldn't say it's necessarily worth spending another $300 to jump to the hybrid racing shifter unless you truly wanted to, right? So there you go, pros and cons of that. All right, so as far as pros of the hybrid racing shifter, I would say that in general, that this shifter does feel more robust than the K-Tune shifter. I can tell that the build quality is better. It could be because of the thickness of the shifter itself. I don't know what it is, but getting into a gear, this thing just feels extremely clunky, extremely notchy, and clunky in a good way, not a bad way. So I just absolutely love it. The other thing I really love about it is the adjustment setting. So basically, I only need 1 hex key versus 3 hex keys in comparison to the K-Tune shifter. This is going to make things much more easy to adjust things on the fly with only having to need 1, whereas the K-Tuned one, again, that's like a pull over, take everything off, sit there and finagle with it forever, whereas this can be adjust, 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 you're good to go, and you're back to driving. So definitely gets a pro there. I think that the fitment is better on the underside of the car, meaning that I don't think I would have had to Dremel off that counterweight with the hybrid racing shifter because of the way it's rounded out at the bottom. So now, as far as negatives go, I would say that the biggest one is going to be the fitment into the cabin. That little boot thing there looking all floppy is going to bother the hell out of me. I can't imagine somebody not running that unless it was a true race car that they were installing this in. And if you didn't have that, then all you would have would be a shift boot protecting you from potential moisture or exhaust fumes getting into the cabin, and I ain't really about that. So you really do have to put that rubber boot on. I just wish it fit better and looked more aesthetically pleasing. So we'll see with time. Now, the other cons, again, I am getting some vibrations in the upper rev range. I'm hoping that those will work themselves out down the road and hopefully not get worse, but we'll see, right? So I'll need to give this one more time, but I would say that, again, either shifter is great. It's just kind of weighing out the pros and cons of each. Do you want to cut your shifter linkage for the K-Tuned and have better fitment right down in here with the cabin? Or do you not want to have to do that, have more of a robust feel, but potentially have some issues with this seal right here if you do or do not run it? So anyways, guys, that's going to be a wrap. My windows are all freaking foggy because I've been talking forever, and this has probably been an extremely long video. I want to apologize if any of these shots were less than ideal on the underside of the car. It was very dark down there. I didn't have a lot of light, and it was very tight. So I tried my best, and hopefully you guys still enjoyed the video. So as usual, guys, if you guys love the Civic content and want to see more of it, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe down below for more, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is All Day Anthony. Peace.